in with you guys, trying to get you set up so you can see the screen. I bought a new charger because my other charger was really messing up. So I have it taped down here, but I might need to bring you guys closer. So this is just for the copyright disclaimer, all that. And hey Aggie, it's good to see you, sweetheart. How are you? So wanted to go over Summer Wells' astrology. Some of the asteroid placements that I've been working on. I had a person that reached out and was like, please do an update on Summer Wells. You know, have you forgotten about her? Of course I have not forgotten about Summer Wells. And I'm always working on Summer Wells, guys. Even if, let's see, I'm trying to get this so you guys can see. Even if, you know, you don't hear from me, I'm still working on her. I hope you guys know that, you know, even if I'm not, posting videos on her every day and doing tarot readings on her every single day, I'm still, you know, basically, working on her behind the scenes. I'm talking to other people about her. I am, you know, I'm constantly talking to Missy, pulling charts, doing stuff with her astrology, pulling tarot cards behind the scenes. I'm always doing things. I'm always listening to spirit box sessions. I'm you know, I'm not ever not working on her, put it that way. It's good to see you too, Aggie. Hi, Lizzie. It's so good to see you. Why is this? So I have never not stopped working on Summer. Just so you guys know, okay? Let me try to pull back up her chart. I had her chart up here. It's not really a nice computer. It's actually really old. It's very old, actually. But it pulls charts. That's what's most important. Okay, so basically we're going to be looking at a few asteroids on her chart. I have pulled Persephone. There is a chart that I was curious where Persephone was showing up on Summer's astrology. So I want to pull that now for you guys. Let me see if it saved it. Looks like my internet went out right before I came on. So I doubt that it saved it. Also, pulling the Pars of Fortune as well, which basically, if you guys didn't know, the Pars of Fortune is, hi Cars, is basically it's you. It's our victim, okay? So on your natal chart, remember we're looking at a crime chart. We are not going to be looking at a natal chart. So the Pars of Fortune is basically your rising sign and your sun sign, and I believe it's also your moon sign. I think it's all three. It's like your big three all connected, all together. And it on a natal chart, it tells a lot about you, who you are, and the overall feeling of your chart as a whole, right? But so I am going to start pulling it more with crime charts as well. So Ceres is another one that's connected to Demeter and Persephone. So I did pull Persephone, and Persephone shows up in the 7th house. Pallas Athena can also kind of show us who is our secret enemy. And also in a crime chart, it can also kind of hint around to who you attract. People who, how can I say this? People who might be attracted to you. So we're doing a crime chart for a child. So it can kind of hint around to things like that. Vesta is another one that I like to look at, because Vesta, thank you, Aggie. Vesta does basically show your life force. Okay, so remember, this is a crime chart. On your natal chart, it can mean it's like the hearth, the home, the fire that burns within you, the light that burns within. Okay, so Vesta is another one that's important. Now, and Algol. You guys know that I like to pull Algol because, you know, Algol, he basically is the demon star. It's when something else can kind of take over, either a killer or a victim. And, you know, bad things happen when Algol shows up. So on Summer's chart, just like Sebastian's chart, Algol plays a role in Summer's disappearance. Okay, and it's not good, and it's showing up on the side that rules the open enemy to Summer. Okay, so as meaning that as someone that is out to harm her or cause harm to her. Okay, sometimes when Algol shows up over on the 1st house, it can mean that the victim has kind of put themselves in danger, or that they might be under the influence. They might be drunk, and something happens to them, like while they're out and drinking. So I have seen Algol show up over on the victim side, and then I have seen Algol show up over on the killer's side. Okay, when I say open enemy, all right, I'm just going to start saying open enemy. So I wrote little notes to myself so I stop messing up, because I keep messing up. I'm going to try not to mention suspects' names too much. I don't want to do that. I'm going to try to stop repeating myself too. So the thing about sorry, I really am sorry that my internet went out right before I came on, which I had the chart saved. So Algol showing up on the victim side can mean that the victim, I don't want to make it sound like it's the victim's fault, but that how do I say it? That's the victim has put themselves in danger somehow because of alcohol or something that they've attracted this energy to them. Okay, so for Summer, Algol shows up at a very important time. Okay, so let me just try to find him. I keep missing him. Algol. Where is he? Just give me 1 second. Algol. We have a lot of ALs. There he is. So Algol is actually an eclipsing star. It's the demon that winks at you. All right, so over here is where you start to see where you can start to type in all of your asteroids, fixed stars, and things like that. I'm going to bring you guys back over here. Okay, and Persephone is asteroid number 399. The other one I wanted to bring up was Nessus, which is an asteroid of abuse. Another asteroid I wanted to bring up is Nemesis, which basically means, you know, that there's like a nemesis, that there's an enemy nearby. DNA is another one that we should look at, which literally means Summer's DNA. Now, I have pulled basically suspects' names, but there is one suspect that is not showing up in the best position, which to me, it means that this suspect is either directly involved or knows the open enemy to Summer. So when I say open enemy, that goes under the whole thing of kidnapper, killer, a direct enemy to Summer on these charts, okay? So that's another, whenever I say open enemy, I just want you to understand what open enemy means on a chart, okay? It means the victim's enemy, all right? So I have Nessus, 7066, Nemesis is 128, Summer's asteroid is 7344. Okay, so Summer, which I know that this is working. Anyone who poo-poos astrology, I really question it, because obviously this is working. Look where Summer's asteroid shows up, guys. Right there. That should tell you a lot about astrology, okay? That should tell you right there that the stars are listening to us. Why? Because this house rules the victim. And that's the asteroid Summer's field. And that's where it shows up. So I know that these asteroids work. Okay? The other asteroid that I was kind of shocked showed up at is Persephone, right here. She's next to Algol. And they're not completely conjunct, but they're close, okay? So here's Algol, here's Persephone, there's Uranus, the planet of unexpected events, the planet of shock. It rules a lot of other things in crime charts. I'm not really going to get into the whole things of it, but it can mean a lot of things, okay? But something shocking and unexpected happening to our victim here. That's Uranus, okay? So Aries is ruling the DC line. So I'm going to go over possible birthdays of what our suspect could be, okay? Meaning our prime suspect that is an open enemy to Summer. And I do feel like there's more than one person involved if we have a kidnapping here, okay? And because Persephone is showing up in the 7th house, and this chart is at 350, okay? Between 3 and 350. So, hi, Dylan. GTSY is good to see you. So, Nessus is showing up in the house that rules children. It also rules having... Okay. The 5th house rules children. It rules... I'll just show you. Here. Children, creativity, pleasure, romance, good fortune, and sex. Now remember, this is a crime chart, okay? So I'm trying to be discreet and classy here. I'm trying my best, okay? So you understand what I'm saying, okay? So we have a secret abuse or an open enemy to Summer, and Summer's DNA is showing up in the in the 5th house, all right? So that's the house of pleasure. It's the house of, you know, doing something inappropriate with a child, all right? Neptune is there as well. You guys know that Neptune has been an issue for me with this whole chart. A lot of the suspects that I have pulled up, which is all of the neighbors that are connected to Summer Wells's case, they all have this either they're connected to a Neptune degree or they're connected to Neptune directly, or, you know, they're showing up in a house next to Neptune, or there's a lot of drug activity around Summer, okay? Including with the neighbors, there's drugs and alcohol. Candace is showing up at a degree of alcohol, okay? She has been showing up at that degree for since the beginning, okay? The day that Summer went missing. So I'm not accusing Candace of anything. I'm just reading to you what the charts are showing, okay? Because Candace is represented by the moon here. She's also... that this moon represents a motherhood, or people in the child's life that are like a mother figure, right? Hey, Susie Q, it's good to see you. Hi, Criminal Justice, it's good to see you. Thank you for being here. So the moon on this crime chart, it means 3 or 4 different things, okay? It's 4 different things. The moon is Candace and Summer together. The moon is also Candace because it's a giver of light, a giver of life. The sun also represents Dawn, okay, because it's a father. And this is a child's chart that's 5 or under. Because the child is 5 and under, we have to look at the moon as Summer as well. Because when you're 5 and under, you're ruled by the moon. Matter of fact, you can go to a couple of apps that do astrology, and if you try to, if your child is 5 or younger, some of these apps out here on the internet won't even let you enter your child's, like, astrology. Astro.com does, but some apps don't even let you enter your child's astrology because they're 5 and under. You know, it's 5 and older that they really want to look at your astrology. So there's certain apps that don't even let you enter your child's birthday. So we do have a suspect that's riding this moon, okay? That's at a 25th degree as well with Candace for at least an hour. So on this chart right here, we have Libra. That means I could have a Libra that is a possible open enemy to Summer, okay? And they could be born as a Libra, but look like an Aries, okay? Or after 3:50, after 4 o'clock, we go into Scorpio as an open enemy to Summer. When the 911 call happens, Scorpio rules the AC line. That means we could have an actual birth chart, a birth sign as an open enemy to Summer as a Scorpio, but they look like a Taurus, okay? And I could go into Sagittarius, but they look like a Gemini, okay? So we have a couple of birth signs, right? A couple of of natal signs that we could look at that could possibly be an open enemy to summer. That doesn't always mean that that's what it is, but it's just possible, okay? So, as far as people that we should, you know, if there's a suspect that's listed on the list and they just so happen to be a Libra, then we should kind of double check them. If there's a suspect on the list that just happens to so be a Scorpio, we should double check them, okay? So here, summer, this is that asteroid summer's field. So I know that these asteroids do work, okay? So the story of, because that's ruling the first house. So here, this rules summer. Venus is summer. And Mars is our open enemy because Aries is on the DC line. So that means our open enemy, which could be a killer or a kidnapper, an open enemy to our victim. So the reason why I kind of lean towards that she could have been taken, that there could be more people involved in this, is because I'm showing up with Persephone on the house that rules our open enemy to summer, okay? So if there was a legit kidnapping, Uranus is there with that unexpected event next to Persephone. So Persephone was out picking flowers when she was taken by Pluto, okay? When she was kidnapped by Pluto, she was picking flowers. And, you know, that just made me think of summer because summer was planting flowers that day. And it's kind of the same story, right? That summer was planting flowers. And here I have an asteroid that's directly over top of summer's head at 3:50 in the afternoon. And it represents being kidnapped, okay? So, or being taken. But the thing about that was Persephone was taken, but she actually ended up being happy when she was taken down into Hades, okay? So everyone thought, oh, she's being taken into Hades. She's being taken to a bad place. But it ended up that Pluto was actually very nice to her. And she fell in love with Pluto, okay? That she was kidnapped. And then her mother is Dimitri, and she searched the whole world for Persephone, kept searching for her, and she messed up the seasons. So the whole story of Persephone and Dimitri is such a powerful story in mythology because it's the whole reason why we ended up having seasons is because of this kidnapping, right? Everything changed with the world because of this kidnapping here, right? Because of what happened to Persephone. Dimitri went out looking for her daughter. She, you know, went all over the world looking for her daughter. She ended up getting pregnant by Zeus. Yeah, like all this crazy stuff. Or, I don't know, all this crazy stuff happened to her while she was searching the world for her daughter. And then come to find out, you know, Persephone's like, hey, hi, I'm here in Hades with Pluto and everything's great. We're doing great. So, hey, Karen, it's good to see you. I saw your message the other day, and that's why I'm on today, okay? Please don't ever think that I'm not working on summer. I'm always working on summer, okay? I'm actually currently working with Missy, going back and forth, swapping charts 24/7, brainstorming, and we're looking at suspects. We're looking at all of the neighbors, and we're looking at basically every name that has been mentioned, okay? And I do have 2 suspects that show up right next to Summer here. And I'm just not mentioning names. I don't want to do that. I also have a suspect that is dancing in between Mars and Venus. I have a suspect that sits right here in between Mars and Venus, pretty much so all day. All day, they're dancing in between Summer and the open enemy to Summer. So I really don't, you know, I really have been trying to break that down because it's a suspect that we're all familiar with. You know, is trying to do good, I think. So, you know, that's a tough one for me because to me, that means either that they know the killer, kidnapper, or open enemy to Summer, or that they were with them at some point during that day. And that would be between 2:45 and 7 p.m. At some point during the day, this suspect crossed paths with the open enemy to Summer because they're right here, okay? And they're either riding Summer or they're riding the open enemy. So that's a suspect that I'm working on, okay? And yes, Missy's great. She's a sweetheart. And Missy's the one that pointed out the suspect that I've been working on. Now, on the maps, her suspect and a couple of these other suspects are mapping out on the lines that I've done. They're showing up on the lines. So it's not only are they showing up on the charts, like right next to the moon, when I did the map, that one map that I did, literally the line goes through this guy's, okay, it's a male, okay? I'm just going to say it's a male, and he matches the Taurus description. I'm going to say that. He matches my Taurus features. So he has a really thick neck, really broad shoulders. He has a body that has Taurus features to it. So meaning that his torso doesn't seem like it matches his legs. Like they might have short, they seem tall, like they're really tall. But then when you step back and you look at their body as a whole, they have like a short body, a short torso, or no, I'm sorry, a long torso with short legs. That's what I mean to say. So they look tall, but when you look at them, you're like, how the hell are they tall? Because they got these short little legs, but it's their torso that's usually longer. And then there's something about their neck that makes them appear taller. It makes them look taller. So this suspect that Missy and I have been working on that is unknown to all of you guys. He's completely unknown, but he does have a criminal record. He's not a pedophile though. And then I have a pedophile that lives near Summer that is over here next to the sun, which isn't good either, okay? So there's a lot of suspects that I'm working on, all right? I have one neighbor who claims to hear a scream show up here, okay? Which rules the house of the open enemy, but you have to be careful, okay, with that 7th house, because sometimes people who come forward and make a statement with law enforcement will show up in the 7th house, okay? So just because someone shows up in the 7th house, that doesn't mean that they are an open enemy to Summer. It can mean that they came forward and made a statement, and the universe is making us aware of it. So I do have a suspect that has made a statement to law enforcement that they heard something, okay, and they're right on this DC line that goes into the 5th house, where the 5th house is being of service to someone. It's either directly affecting health, or that they are of service to someone. They might be at home doing housework, doing things around the house, because that's the house of service, where you are of service to others. And this person also, I do believe, helped in the search for Summer. So that's in a tricky spot for me too. I'm really, torn on that one as well. I am torn. I do think that this neighbor here that shows up in between the killer and Summer knows the killer. The other suspect that we have, that everyone is kind of questioning, I have him as well, where he is in the 3rd house at 2:30, 3:30. You see him moving, and then you see him go into the 2nd house, and he's in this degree of seems like he's very upset about property, I would say. There's there's a property dispute, and that kind of shows up in a degree that he's in as well. And if you think about it, if you're leaving work, that would be the 3rd house, and you would do short distant journeys around your local area. So that's traveling. So I can follow this asteroid that leaves, and the 3rd house also rules your hands, and it also rules vehicles. So think about that. If you are let's say this suspect happened to be an auto mechanic, it makes sense that they would be in the 3rd house because they're using their hands, which is the 3rd house, and that goes into the second house, which rules property. And probably by the time they are home, which you can tell, so the planets move this way, and the astrology, you read the astrology chart this way, but the planets are moving this way, so clockwise. So it's the opposite directions, okay? Because this is like a huge clock, guys. It's always moving. So if you can think about it, you can have multiple layers going on at the same time. And that's basically what this is doing. The planets are moving this way, but the signs are moving that way. So, and it's working together, okay? Somehow this shit works. I don't know how the hell God does this, but this is how God does it. And it's pretty amazing. I do have asteroid Don and Candace showing up. Don shows up in the 5th and 6th house. And he is conjunct Chiron, which is a wound that never heals. So Don is in a weird spot too. When he says that he's at work, I'm questioning that as the sun. I do show him traveling, and then he does go over the 8th house of death, okay, which isn't good. I also have another asteroid called the Wells, and I'm not trying to attack the Wells. I'm just saying what I see, okay? And that does float around the 8th and 7th house as well, which could mean that this family, you know, that their whole house is upside down, because I know the house is upside down because Pluto just left the house. Okay, so between 2:45 and 3:50, Pluto just crosses this threshold. So 10 minutes earlier, Pluto at 3:45, Pluto is still in the 4th house, which does rule the family. It also is the end of the matter and how in the womb and in the tomb and how things turn out. So, you know, this is also telling me that Saturn is in Aquarius, which is why I keep telling you guys that summer could possibly definitely be in an Aquarius area. Sebastian Rogers, he has their charts are very similar, okay? It's pretty crazy, but they are. So, let's go to when Algol shows up on the DC line, where I think things take a tragic turn for summer, okay? So this is at 3:50, and let's go to 4 p.m. I think it's about 4:45 that Algol gets really close. Okay, so Algol's in the 7th house now, which, just like Sebastian Rogers, it's not good, okay? Algol is the demon star, and he's right on top of Persephone here, okay? Now they're really close to each other. So if I take 26, 19, six degrees apart. So they're conjunct. So I have someone who is basically possessed by a demon that represents injuries to the head, that represents sexual assault. Okay, I'll show you in Kirsty's book. These are the books that I use, guys, just so you know. Okay, Caroline Lilly, Forensic Astrology for Everyone. That's a really good book. I just got this book. We'll go over it a little bit. The Rulership book by Rex E. Bills. This book is like a dictionary. So, like neighbors, right? Neighboring countries, neighborhood, the 3rd house. And it rules Mercury and Gemini, okay? So it has all these names here, every word that you can think of, and then it tells you what that represents, okay? So it's like a glossary of words, and then this glossary of words tells me like everything that's under Venus, okay? So I'm just starting to use this book as well. And I also use this book, The Stars Within You. This is a great book to start with. This is the book that you should start with to learn basic astrology. You should really get to know how to do your chart first and read your astrology first before you start breaking apart other people's charts. And you should know a little bit about astrology before you buy Kirsty's book. Even she says in the beginning of her book that, like, you know, you should have a little basic idea of what astrology is. Now, all of you can go and pull up the asteroids just like I did. If you're curious about a suspect, you can go ahead and pull up any of these suspects' names on the asteroid list, and it will show up on the chart. Just like I pulled Persephone, just like I pulled Algol, and how I pulled Summer's name. So now, this is why I think that this is a very important time in the chart. Now look at this, okay? 445. Nemesis, he shows up in the house that's ruling our enemy. Scorpio there, okay? So that means our victim is in a very, it's not a good position, okay? So even when they're in Libra, it's not a good position. So after 3, our victim is not in a good position, okay? So here's Libra and Scorpio in a crime chart, okay? And this is when she's being ruled by Venus, okay? So remember, Summer is Venus, but after 345, she turns into Mars, okay? So because we're tracking our victim throughout the day. So as the time moves, she changes positions, she changes signs, okay? I feel like I'm yelling at you guys. I really hope that I'm not. Hey, Logan, it's good to see you. Yeah, just keep an eye out for that crazy lady that still is kind of, yeah, it can be, which is why I tell you to do your own research, Logan. And astrology has been used in crime, and it does find missing people. If you don't believe that, I would highly recommend, Logan, that you go watch some of the professionals. I'm not a professional astrologer. I am teaching myself how to do this. But there is a channel by the name of Kirsty Macintosh. There's another channel, Missy, who is an astrologer. And there's another astrologer, Val Evans. And time again, they keep finding people. I think Val Evans was only about a mile away from finding someone. I mean, Kirsty always maps out where a killer works, or where a killer lives, or where a body is going to be found. So it's not just a myth, honey. It's been scientifically proven. So you can, you know, if you are a skeptic, you really shouldn't be here. If you don't believe in astrology, then you should really move along. Because this is not a place for you. I mean, you can watch any other crime creator out here that doesn't do astrology. You know, I have my factual side, I have my logical side, but then I have my astrology side, where I look at crime on an astrological level. I also have my spirit box side, my tarot card side, my dowsing rod sides, and I, you know, I might crawl down a little rabbit hole, but I always crawl myself back out and come back to reality, okay? So there's 3 faces that I have when I approach crime. I have my logical side, I have my fact-based side, and I watch fact-based channels, okay? I watch the news, I do, when it comes to crime. But then I'm the one that's looking at a crime through the planets. And this is not a natal chart, this is a snapshot of the planets over top of Summer's head, the time that she went missing. So, yep. Tides, the earth is 70% water, so is the human body. How can, yeah, they do affect each other, absolutely. I'm a Cancer, so I'm really affected by the moon. So, I mean, the moon, like, really affects me. So I'm a Cancer. So I'm a Cancer in the 12th house. So my sun sign, it rules the 12th house, and Cancer is ruling the 12th house. So for me, I'm a Cancer, and it's which is really usually ruled by Pisces, but for me, Cancer is ruling that house. So Cancer rules the 12th house for me, and my sun sign sits there, and my 8th house is ruled by Pisces. So I have Pisces ruling my 8th house. That's why, you know, I'm very spiritual. I'm connected to spirit. It's the house of magic. It's the house of spirit, being spiritual, being psychic, having intuition. It's another water sign. And then I have Scorpio ruling my 4th house. I also have Jupiter sitting in my house in the 8th house. So it's big. It's in a big way, which is why I'm a kick-ass bitch and doing magic. If I really wanted to, I could really do some stuff, but I don't. Okay, I don't do harm to others. I don't bend the will of another. But it's why I'm so good at magic, and why I'm a kick-ass witch. That's why, because I got Jupiter in the 8th house, and it's no joke. So okay, all right. So let me just tell you about these injuries. Okay, and the type of situation that Summer is in, allegedly, okay? What the astrology says she's in. Okay, injuries related to Venus. So this is between 3 and, what time is it here on this chart? 4:45. So between 3 and 4:45, she's ruled by Venus, okay? So we're looking at throat injuries, strangled, lust-based crimes, diabetes, selling of human trafficking, sexually transmitted diseases, injury to the neck and top of the chest. So I need to look for the 26, this is Kirsty's book. So she reminds us to check for the 26 degrees of Taurus, which is Algol. And I'm getting ready to do that, getting ready to show you that. So it is the position of a very prominent, it is an idea. Hold on, I can't get you guys to see it without moving. Okay, so he says to look for the fixed star Algol. This malefic fixed star is severe to head injuries, decapitation, or burning from a fire. Libra also rules the kidneys, the loins, the appendix, the lumbar, the vertebrae, and the skin. So that's between 3 and 4:45, okay? So the fact that she's in Libra like that as well, it can be with people that you know as well. I don't want to forget that. It can be, not always, but it can. Or like her attacker could be known to her, possibly. Not always, but it's a possibility. Now, when she goes into Scorpio, okay, so this is the injuries. Now, this is when she's in Scorpio now. So at 4:45, her DC line changes to Scorpio. And here is Summer. So I know this works, okay? Because out of 10,000 asteroids, or however many asteroids that are floating above our head, you mean to tell me that I enter Summer's name here, and out of all of the asteroids where they could fall into place, I have one that's literally sitting in the house and sitting on top of the line that represents our victim? How does that work? This is why you can poo-poo astrology all you want, but that right there should blow your mind. Like, your mind should be like, pow, pow, blowing up right now. Because do you have any idea how many asteroids are in the asteroid belt? And out of all those thousands and thousands and thousands of asteroids floating above Summer's head, the one asteroid named Summer is sitting directly on top of her AC line? That just can't be a fucking coincidence. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but that's not a coincidence. That's Summer. This is Summer, and this is Summer. And then earlier in the day, that is Summer. So right now, this is our kidnapper, open enemy, our killer to Summer, okay? Because now we have Taurus ruling this DC line. So the killer has lust-based crimes on his mind, okay? Go. Okay, sorry, I had to let the dog out. So now let's read what Kirsty's book says about Scorpio. So these are injuries that rule Scorpio. So if Mars is found in the 7th house, or it is the ruler of the suspect, it's the ruler of our victim. It can be tricky because Mars covers a lot of territory. One thing for absolute certain, though, is this person was angry, violent, and quick to kill. Blunt force trauma, head injuries, gunshots, knives, stabbing, and shooting. Fire is associated too. The brain faculties and the distribution of mental and physical energy. So they might not be right, okay? They might not be all there in the head. Blood, arteries, muscles, cuts, bruises, fevers, inflammation, redness, and heat. If coupled with Pluto in an aspect, there may be sexual assault and sadistic tendencies. Mars in a fire sign square to Pluto, anger throughout passion, lust kills. If Mars is in the 7th, are ruling the 7th, the death, it implies that the death was fast. Scorpio, the organs are reproductive. Bladder, gallbladder, colon, and rectum. Okay? So, it just doesn't, it's not good. So right now we have Venus ruling the, so right before we go into this, Aries, if Aries is on the 7th house cusp, which it was a little bit ago, it was right here, right? So if Aries is on the 7th house cusp, you can assume a suspect with a rash personality and that the situation occurred quickly. There was a lot of anger involved, and the first person that could be looked is the partner of the victim, someone that the victim knows, basically, as you would anyway. With any persons involved, it may give a quick walk with the head leaning forward slightly. The walk is distinctive. Headaches and sinus and eye problems are the usual physical complaints of this person, of this position. Rashes and acne on the face and shoulders sometimes occur. Broad shoulders and slim hips are common. Often Aries possesses a youthful charm. Blonde or light hair. Shapely eyebrows, Aryan features, usually tall, quick to anger, fast, fidgety, and bores easily. Aries people have a strong angular features with prominent features. They can be athletic or average build. So we're looking at an older person because of where the sun is hanging out as well. I think we are looking at an older person possibly here. And then this is where I get into that thick neck, broad shoulders, because we have Taurus. So right now I want to figure out where... This is now where Algol is entering the open enemy. So just like how I went in, what's whose last name? Summer, is Summer missing or is she dead? You ask. Summer Wells is a 5-year-old little girl that went missing in, 2021. On June 15th. She has never been seen since. And this is the astrology of that day. So I have a tragic event unfolding. I have a possible kidnapping. And now this is when Algol shows up. And I really feel like this is when shit goes down for Summer. Another thing that I'm noticing too is 445. Could she be in a vehicle? Because here we have that Yod. Pluto is in the house of travel. So is she put in a vehicle here? She's in the house of endings. Her asteroid is in the house of endings. So this also rules human trafficking, unfortunately. It also rules doing things that are illegal. And it's at a 29th degree, which is a fated degree. Okay, it's fate. It's not a good degree that she's in. First house is that there's a secret enemy near her, on her property, in her home. Okay, not I'm not saying that it's someone in her home. It could be, there's a possibility, but she has an enemy in the first house here. So if Nemesis was showing up over here, to me, or if Summer showed up over here, to me, that would be that someone took her and then they took her back to their place, or she was taken into a place where the killer felt comfortable, okay? But that's not what I'm seeing here. Summer is in her home, from her safe place, where she's supposed to feel safe. There is an enemy here, okay? There's a nemesis nearby. And this tells us too, with her DNA is at home here. And this is some type of a physical assault, some type of a physical struggle on children. Nessus. That is a asteroid of abuse, okay? Nessus is an attack. So we have a secret nemesis, meaning that there's an enemy at Summer's home. They are at the 29th degree as well. 1 in 29. So this is at an Aries degree. That's an attack. That's someone who has anger. So I wanted to read to you Algol's meaning. Now this is showing up 345. I think things go horribly wrong for this child. And I'm really sorry to say that, but let me show you what Algol is. I mean, we've done enough charts together now. I mean, if you're familiar with my channel, you guys know that Algol, sadly, he keeps showing up with crime, okay? He's really bad. And we all have him. He's in all of our charts, but that doesn't mean that we're a killer. It's just that he's showing up at a prime time when, just like in Sebastian Rogers' case, Algol shows up, starts showing up on the scene after 10 p.m., right? And that's just when the mother starts to tell us that stuff is happening with Sebastian, that she hears a thump and a thud. And that's when Algol is making an appearance on these charts. Same with Summer, okay? This is 445. Algol is here, okay? He is here and he's in a house. That means it's not good for our victim. It's horrible for our victim. Okay, I just want to read to you Algol. Here he is. He's at the 26th degree of Taurus always, okay? So you can go to your natal charts and see where he shows up on your natal chart, because he's in all of us. But this is a crime chart, not a natal chart. This is the date of a crime, okay? So he's showing up at 345 into the house that rules the killer. And it's not good, okay? It's really not good. Primitive female sexuality, strangulation, beheading, danger to the throat and neck, murder, violence, mass catastrophe, the evil one, the demon star, passionate, intense, hysterical. It's very unfortunate, okay? So that shows up for her near Persephone. And that's a conjunction with Persephone. They're close. Because 10 degrees are apart, is considered a... So if it's 10 degrees or under, that's a conjunction. If it's above 10 degrees, it's considered probably like a semi-sextile. So a semi-sextile is 45 degrees. And then a square is considered 90 degrees, I believe. 90 degrees apart. And so this would be a conjunction to Persephone, who rules it rules kidnappings, guys. So, and it's tragic. It's unexpected. It's shocking. Persephone was a muted peacekeeper, though. Yeah. Yeah, the thing about Persephone is she was taken, right, to Hades, which is, hell, okay? And Pluto kidnapped her when she was picking flowers. But like, you know, and her mother freaked out. Her mother was looking all over for her. And it messed up the seasons because she stopped, you know, people were starving to death because Demeter was searching the world for her daughter. But when they found Persephone, she didn't want to go back. She was happy with Pluto. Pluto actually treated her very nice. And people went down there to rescue her. And there's a whole story about how they went down to Hades to rescue Persephone. But when they finally found Persephone, she didn't want to leave. So they made this deal with Demeter and Persephone, and that's why we have the seasons. So I think for 6 months, you know, for 6 months when it's winter, she goes down and she hangs out with her husband, Pluto. And that's why we have winter. And that's why everything dies, right? Because Demeter misses her daughter, okay? And then when spring comes, that's when Persephone goes back up and, you know, the flowers bloom and, you know, we can have the harvest. Demeter, she rules the harvest and, you know, farming and agricultural things for us to eat. And it also rules... Demeter also rules like custody battles and things like that. And that shows up in Sebastian's case. So it also shows up in Rose Bly's case as well, Siri. So I really think something's up with the custody of her own children. And that Rose Bly, her astrology shows that someone who has a lot of power was an open enemy to her. And they showed up at a regal star. So this is someone that would have a position of power. Okay, definitely. Someone that, for Rose Bly, her astrology showed up that, you know, we have a person who is in power, who is a direct open enemy of hers. And there's something about custody as well. So her chart is pretty confusing as well. Like I said, I am still learning. I'm trying to learn all this stuff. And I'm really trying to get into the asteroids. And I'm trying to do the suspects, but I don't want to hurt anyone, or I don't want to accuse anyone, right? Because a lot of our suspects, they're trying to rebuild their life. And I really believe that, you know, what I'm running into is this, and it's nothing against any of the neighbors, okay? So that's Andy Bernard, Jody Sue Brown, Fred Hill, okay, our main suspects that keep slinging mud back and forth at each other. I really wish that they could just stop slinging mud back and forth to each other, and I just really wish for just 1 second they could think about the people that were in their lives around up to the weeks leading to when Summer Wells went missing. And what sucks is that I hear Jody Sue Brown and I hear Andy Bernard say, oh, I really don't think that this person is a bad person. They seem so nice and they would never do anything to hurt a child. But when I pull up their asteroids, they're showing up in the first house. Okay? And same thing with Fred Hill. He'll say, oh, this person is so nice. They're the nicest people. I would never think that they would ever hurt a child, right? But then I pull up the asteroids and I'm like, holy shit. They're showing up as mentally ill. They're showing up in a position that's sitting on top of Summer. Okay? So here's my problem with Jody Sue and Andy Bernard and Fred. And, you know, this is no shade towards them, okay? No, nothing at all. I'm really trying to tiptoe around this. But the people who they have come right out and said that they don't think that they would ever do anything to hurt a child are the ones that are showing up on top of Summer. So, you know, that makes me think, and that our one neighbor is showing up in between Summer and the killer, okay? One neighbor shows up right here. It's really awkward. They're in a horrible position. And if I didn't know astrology and I were to look at that, I'd be like, holy shit, they're the killer. Somebody could easily look at that and say, oh my God, they're sitting on top of Summer. That makes them the killer. Or, oh my God, they're sitting on top of the planet that rules the killer. That makes them the killer. But it might not. It might mean that they know them and that they would have been in contact with them prior, okay? Before 3, during 3, after 4:45, after 5, after 6, after 7, because this person stays in between between Summer and the killer all day, right? And then these other, I have 4 names. I have 4 suspects that show up in crappy positions. And 2 of them are right here on top of Summer. Now, how, you know, so what I would really like for Fred and Jody Sue Brown and Andy Bernard to do is to go take lie detector tests again. Like, I know Fred Hill, I know his came back inconclusive. I really wish that they could all contact Nancy Grace, all of the neighbors together, and just beg her to pay for a lie detector test and clear their names completely. Whether the police say that they don't need to take a lie detector test or not, just get that out of the way. I'm sure when, you know, they were more so focusing on Cotton when Fred Hill did his first lie detector test. I really think that they all should clear their names. And then I'd really like for them to think about their immediate circles and who had access to their property and who would have known the Wells. And I can't excuse the Wells because they're really showing up in crappy places too, okay? Plus they're part of this yod that's connected to Pluto, which could mean I have a mother and a father that's connected to a death, you know, for a long time, because this yod, this energy of this yod can linger, okay? So, which is why I'm still thinking that Summer Wells' case isn't going to be solved for a while. And then I have, you know, a father here that's directly in front of the siblings, right here. That's Don. Here's the boys. Gemini rules siblings. So he's directly in front of what the boys are seeing. You know, he's really controlling the narrative here, okay? And this is the degree where Don Wells gets famous. I mean, that's a degree of fame. So, I mean, it's really weird, all right? So I can't, if Summer was taken by, you know, this energy of Persephone and the fact that I have Algol here, unfortunately, I'm thinking that there's a head injury, possible head injury, and that, you know, above the shoulders, she could have been, I mean, sometimes it can mean chest injuries too, but it can also mean, you know, strangulation and getting hit over the head, okay? It's not good. That Algol is here, and he just left the 8th house of death, and then Algol is going to go into the house of health. Right here, when Algol shows up, we have Chiron, who is a wound that never heals, okay, in the house that rules health. So, you know, it's just, and I do see the one suspect that's dancing in between Mars and Venus. You know, they're here, which rules the 10th house, which rules, I'm sorry, the 10th house rules your reputation, and it rules, you know, parents. It can rule mothers, and it can rule fathers. Some on your natal chart, it can rule your mother or your father. So the 10th house can rule uncles, aunts sometimes too, but it can rule family. The 4th house rules family. The 5th house can rule family, okay? So, you know, we have some type of assault on children because I have Nessus here. That's a physical assault on children, okay? That goes into the womb and into the tomb. And here, I can't help but think something happened to her in a vehicle, because it seems like the vehicle, like she's moving. She's moving. Summer would be moving now. 4:45 into, you know, 5:30. Is she in a vehicle? I would think that she is. So I would really love for the neighbors to start thinking outside the box instead of pointing. It's like they're pointing fingers over here and they're pointing fingers over here. They're both pointing fingers at each other. And I think that they're ignoring some of the people that are in their lives that might not. And I would say, because the one suspect shows up in Scorpio, one suspect shows up in Scorpio, another suspect shows up with the moon, which is getting drunk, lying, and doing criminal activity, okay? So the moon is at that degree as well. The other suspect is hanging out on top of Summer in a degree of Aries, all right? Which is, murder, rage, anger. And then the other suspect is at a degree of doing drugs under the influence. Now, Neptune is famous for heroin, okay? Neptune and Pisces has a long history of heroin and heroin needles and doing pretty hard drugs, not just alcohol, but in a crime chart, okay? In a crime chart. If this suspect here that's dancing in between the killer and Summer, they are in a degree of doing heroin, okay? And so, I mean, that's not good either. But just because somebody does heroin does not mean that they're a killer, okay? I know lots of people who have been on all kinds of drugs, and that does not mean that they're a killer. It's just the one suspect that's down here, that's sitting on top of Summer, is in between a secret enemy and Summer, okay? And I know this is just astrology, and we're not supposed to take it as fact. You know, it's supposed to be just entertainment purposes only. But the fact that I have Summer showing up as our suspect, and there's thousands and thousands of these asteroids, and you mean to tell me out of thousands and thousands of asteroids, I get Summer showing up where she's supposed to be? I don't think that's just a coincidence. So I take these suspect names pretty seriously. So I really, really hope that they could stop mudslinging and maybe start thinking and looking at their friends a little bit differently. Because I really feel like it doesn't mean that this person that's here in between Summer and the killer is the killer. I truly believe that this person knows them and was with them at one point during the day who took Summer. Or that these suspects down here that are showing as a nemesis and showing up on top of Summer, that they are a missing link to how Algol and Persephone shows up on our killer line, our kidnapper line, okay? So either these people down here are the loophole that got these kidnappers in. And like I said, it doesn't look good for Candace either. I mean, I just can't completely excuse the parents. I just can't. I mean, I would love to be able to, but they're just not, no one's looking good here. Okay. Nobody's in a really good position. No one's looking good. Nobody looks pristine. And, you know, I really can't clear anybody. But there are parts in these asteroids that make sense, okay? The person who says that they heard something shows up as making a statement, as hearing something, right? So that's weird too. And, you know, they go down into the house of service. So, but I mean, they are still showing up in the house that rules an open enemy. So we got to be careful with that suspect as well. So nobody looks good. All the suspects' names that I have mentioned, they're all in a really uncomfortable position as far as asteroids go, you know? You used to work for a national newspaper, and this is a carbon copy of a case where the aunt and uncle hid the kid in the sofa bed while the cops were there questioning the disappearance. Oh, crap. Really? I used to be a heroin addict. Oh, and I never committed a crime. I think that having used drugs in the past makes me more acutely aware of things that other people aren't aware of. Yes, I believe that. Someone close who is far away enough to escape scrutiny, but close enough to be in the loop. Yes, yes. So the two suspects that are here, I'm not saying that they're the killers. I'm saying they might know the killers, and this is the connection. And this might be why I have this one neighbor, okay, that is in this awkward spot, who is also showing up as a drug user, but that's the connection. There's a connection there. It's not good. So around this time, I have the other neighbor, you know, in the house of worrying about property, right? And I would have liked to have seen the one suspect, the one neighbor that is having a property dispute, an inheritance. I probably would have liked to have seen him either show up in the 5th house of working, or in the 8th house of being obsessed about inheritance or worrying about their land. But it's interesting because they were having a property dispute. So it makes sense that he's dancing down here. Like, that makes sense to me. Okay, this person makes sense to me, even if they were on the road that day. Even if they were on the road that day, they don't look as horrible as these other people. Okay, so even if he's on the road, it looks like he's in a property dispute, because he goes from the 3rd house, which is vehicles and using your hands, communicating, doing text messages. And if, you know, depending on what his profession is, what his job is, that makes sense. He could be, let's say he could be an auto mechanic, something like that. That would be the 3rd house to me, because you're using your hands to fix things that represent vehicles, okay? Communication and travel. But even when he's showing up, coming home, it's when I have Summer being possibly put in a vehicle as well. So that looks suspicious. Like, nobody looks good, okay? I'm going to be honest with you. But the people who look the worst are the ones that are dancing on top of Summer, okay? That's not good. The suspects that are dancing on top of Summer and conjunct this guy, and then I have another suspect that's riding the moon. That's not good either. That none of you guys know of. And then I have another suspect that's on the other side of Venus. He doesn't look good. And then I have another suspect that is a neighbor that's literally in the middle of Venus and Mars, who rules the killer and Summer, okay? During the time that Algol, Persephone, and Uranus is ruling the house of the enemy. So what do? Right? Now, I really think that these neighbors need to think about the people that they know and that had access to their property, that they may have done drugs with. One might be kind of like someone that you would least suspect, really nice person, and might be older. And another one might be an ex-criminal and might have a drug problem. A pretty bad drug problem, I would say, because they're in a degree of doing drugs. And the other one is in a degree of Mars. So that's not good either, right? So the ones that are hanging out over top of Summer, I really am really uncomfortable with. And the one that's hanging out with the moon, which means that they're either stalking Candace or they're with Candace, okay? They're either stalking her, lurking in the bushes, or are they together? You know, it's just too close for comfort for me not to think that they're not directly on top of each other like that. The other suspect is at the 25th degree. But yeah, just because a person does heroin does not mean that they're a killer. In the UK, Ant's name was Sharon. I'll try to find the article. Okay, and that's close to the 29th, the 29th degrees of hidden predators. Yeah. The 29th degree is an anoretic degree. It's not good. It's bad. It's like, it's a fated degree. 18 degrees is considered like a demonic degree, like the devil is within you. In Audrey Cunningham's case, I think the sun who was ruling the killer was at an 18th degree at some point, which means that the devil is in him. Okay, that's not good for Audrey Cunningham. You know, I knew it was going to be a man that had a red face because the sun, it almost looks like they're sunburned, like the sun is shining on his face, because I think he was ruled by Leo. I can't quite remember that chart, but yeah. So I do think the Summer is moving here between 4:45 and 5:30, I'd say. And in the womb and in the tomb, Saturn in Aquarius. And then she's in Leo. So when she's represented by Libra here, it describes her home. So places that are exposed to the wind and air, high off the ground, outdoors. This includes places where there's fresh air and cool, such as on mountains, along hillsides. So, I mean, right there, that tells you that Summer is on a hill when she gets probably either taken or trafficked or something. I hate to think of her like this. I really do. Places where there's lots of birds. You know, it's telling us that she's in a hilly area. And when you look at the map, I mean, that property is up on a hill. Like you cannot not see it. And then when she goes into Scorpio, we have things like cemeteries, okay? So here she's in Scorpio. And it rules places that are, you know, just not nice, where she might have been taken through a cemetery, graveyards. You see it? So I just wanted to show you that I pulled Persephone and I pulled Nessus and Nemesis, and and DNA. And DNA, pretty amazing. It's pretty close to Saturn, which rules your DNA. So here's the asteroid DNA, and it's close to the asteroid that rules, or close to the planet that rules your DNA anyway. Saturn rules your hair, skin, teeth, nails, your muscles, your skin, your blood. So at the end of the matter, in the womb and in the tomb, there is some type of DNA somewhere at that house. Somewhere. So I would be interested if she's near any places that have heat. Leo rules places like fireplaces and things like that. It also rules places where dance hall, government buildings, ballrooms, nightclubs, gambling casinos, amusement parks, things like that. Because that's where her planet is. And then it goes into Cancer, which is near water. And then DNA and her body would be in Aquarius, which is why I've been saying, you know, railroad tracks, railroad bridges that have water going underneath of them, highway bridges that have water going underneath of them, rivers, lakes, ponds. Because, you know, in the beginning, she's got Scorpio ruling her AC line. It could not be the nicest water, right? Places where the water gets a little mucky off to the side, something like that, or where it's more like swampy when she's in the sign of Scorpio. So, but Aquarius rules cliffs, like high places, like rivers and dams. Think about Aquarius. It's a water bearer, but he rules electricity. So we're looking at, you know, for her body, her DNA, and her body is in the sign of Aquarius. Thank you, Aggie, so much. When you talk about asteroids, what do you mean? Same as actual asteroids, or no? Like, I'm pulling up asteroids. We can map out asteroids because they're all numbered now. Most of them are numbered. I think, how many asteroids do we have? I think we have like 10,000 asteroids. Can't remember. So asteroids are asteroids. I know I say that word wrong. How many asteroids do we have? So as known, that's how many that we know of. Actually, there's so many more than that. So it's estimated to be 1.1 million. But there are some that are numbered. So out of all of these asteroids that are numbered, I pulled up the one asteroid named Summers Field. Summers Field is the name of this one. Summers Field is the name of this asteroid. Out of all of these asteroids that I just told you exist. And this one shows up right in the first house and on the AC line that rules the victim. It didn't show up anywhere else on this chart, but it showed up ruling the victim. And that's the victim's name. How you can't tell me that that's not part of God. Like, what the hell? Like, how is that even possible? So a lot of people don't want to use asteroids for crime because, you know, there's so many of them. But right there, that should tell you that these asteroids are talking to us too. Just like the planets talk to us. Okay? So do these asteroids. They play a role when you're born too. So like when you pull your natal chart, you can pull your parents' names for an asteroid. Like for me, my father shows up. His full name, his first name, his middle name, and his last name are listed as an asteroid the day that I was born. And my mother's first name shows up. But my father's name shows up, and my name shows up the day that I'm born over top of the hospital that I'm born in. So they play a role. Your name is in the stars. Your name is in the stars. Look for places that are rich in peat and far from populated places. Maybe the banks of clay. A dam. Yes. Hope not. Yeah. I love space. I am really enjoying this. Not the story, but me too. Summer's chart is another sad one. It's just as sad as Sebastian's. It's very sad. And I know it's sad because of this guy right here. Algol. You know, coming into the house that rules the enemy. The open enemy. What attracts the enemy to... Okay. What attracts the enemy to our victim? And there's our victim. Right? So there's this opposition between them. And I would say that this enemy went onto her property. Because if Summer was over here, or if Summer's planet was over here, that means that Summer walked into their space. That Summer was out and about and she crossed their area, or that the kidnapper took her into their space. But that's not what's showing up here. I'm showing Summer and a secret enemy is coming onto her space. Okay? She has an enemy at her safe place where she's supposed to feel safe. There is an enemy. It's either an enemy there or they're lurking about. And they're at a degree of Aries, which rules Mars, which means in a crime chart, it's not good. Okay? It's anger, it's rage. It's not good. And then you have an attack in the area, in the house that rules. I don't want to say it out loud, but here, I mean, you guys can read it. Children, creativity, pleasure, romance, good fortune, and sex. So I have an attack here on a child. This is a child's crime chart. And I have an attack in that house. Her DNA and Saturn is showing up past, father, home, and family. Her private. It's the end of the wound. It's in the womb and in the tomb, and it's the end of the matter. So it's not good. And the fact that I have this huge finger of fate, the finger of God, comes in and he points to Pluto. Whenever you see this on a chart, it's a yod. And it's connecting the two giver of lights, the giver of life, to death. Okay? So it's the finger of fate, the finger of God, coming in and saying death and transformation. It's when God's finger comes in and points to death. And this yod stays with us throughout the day. You know, it's the yod starts here and it works its way from the fifth house, which I just read to you what the fifth house means, and it goes all the way through here. And it stays with us through the whole day. This yod. I think she is very close to home. Yeah, I think here this is only 1 mile away. 1 to 10 miles away here. I got 2.6 miles. So when I did her maps, which I have to redo her maps because the last map that I did for you guys, I showed you what I was working on, it didn't save. So I have to go back through and redo Sebastian's maps and everything. But you can kind of see when I did her map the last time, I showed you, you know, where they really should be looking. And the lines where they go through all the places there. You know, somebody could be directly, they could be she could be there. She could have been hidden there. So, yeah. It's not good that we have Persephone and Algol together like that. And another thing is that she's looked at like a possession because it's in Taurus, which rules property. Looking at somebody like they belong to me. This belongs to me, right? This is mine. Summer kind of doesn't take on looking at someone as being quite human anymore. It's more so like a possession. Now, this is just astrology. It doesn't mean that it's happened. It doesn't mean that it's fact. But this is what the astrology is showing. So, like I said, nobody looks good, all right? But there are asteroids in here of the neighbors that are listed as suspects that they make sense. And I do believe if the neighbors could just for a second stop slinging mud at each other and think about the people that they know, and if they could reach out to Nancy Grace and just have her pay for them, have her pay for lie detector test and have them clear their names, and then they can just start focusing on the people that they know. Because I have 4 suspects. I have 2 suspects here and I have 2 suspects up here. Why one neighbor is sitting in here that I think knows these people, knows them, okay? And I really believe that if we could get Jody Sue Brown and Andy B, Fred, Dobbs, Redmond, all of the neighbors, anyone that lived on that road, to just contact Nancy Grace and beg her to pay for a lie detector test for all of them, retake it, clear their names, and then they can start really focusing on the people that they know. Because I have 4 people I have 2 people that are sitting on top of Summer, and then I have 1 suspect sitting on top of Candace, and then I have another suspect sitting on top of the killer, and then I have another neighbor that's right here. So, in my own personal astrological opinion, and I'm not a professional astrologer, not at all, but what that tells me is that Do whatever you need to do to clear your name. Instead of this is the thing, don't point a finger, because what do? If you point a finger at somebody, you got 3 fingers coming back at you. If you're going to point a finger at somebody, turn the finger and point it at yourself and say, this is why I am innocent. Andy B., Jody Sue Brown, Fred, Dobbs, Redmond, Laura, everyone on that road. Stop pointing fingers and point the finger towards yourself and say, this is why I'm innocent. Here's my bank statements. Here is the activity of when Andy B., he was working. You can't tell me that man doesn't have a check card or a Visa check card or some type of card that he was using to buy gas with. He can call his bank and he can ask his bank to do a printout of his bank statement and show us exactly where he was that day and the times that he was at. Stop the fighting. You can easily clear your names with bank statements. And then get your bank statement and see, okay, I went and got a cup of coffee at Wawa or 7-Eleven. Okay, it was at this time. Let me go up to 7-Eleven and see if they can pull the tape. It's years have gone by now. This is the shit that you guys should have done when this all first happened, is that you're a suspect, so dot your I's and cross your T's. Stop pointing fingers everywhere else and point a finger at yourself and clear yourself. Here's my lie detector test. I know the law enforcement said I didn't have to get one, but here it is anyway. If it came back inconclusive, go back and take it again. If law enforcement said you didn't have to take a lie detector test, I don't care. Call Nancy Grace, schedule one, or pay for one yourself to get it done. Clear your names. Get your bank statements. Call your bank. Ask them to give you a printout of what the hell you did that whole entire week. Show us where you were at, the areas that you were hanging out at. You can easily call your banks. Provide paperwork. Provide cell phone messages. But I know all that can be manipulated and fucked with. Okay, but clear your name. Instead of pointing everywhere else, look at yourself and point at yourself and say, this is why I am innocent, and this is why I didn't do anything to Summer. This is why I am clear. Before you start pointing fingers everywhere else, clear yourself first. That's what needs to be done. And then this whole drama and this back and forth with each other can end. Now, I could be a tarot reader here and sit here and be like, oh, bam. Oh, look at this. Oh, my God. Whoa, look at this. Oh, look, here's this card. Oh, my God, it means this. I could fucking do that for clicks and views. I could do that for sensationalizing Summer. I could fucking do that. I'm not here to sensationalize about this child. I just want everyone to clear their name before they start pointing fingers at everyone else and get their shit straight and say, this is why I am not guilty. This is why you need to stop looking over here. And then once you guys get a paper trail of what the hell you did that week, whatever paper trail you need, and Andy, go back into your old job and sit there with your old boss and say, hey, can I record you that you can tell me that you were here, that I was here? Just do that. Andy B., you made a phone call with the law enforcement saying that you're sick and tired. You need to start your life. All of these suspects, these neighbors want to rebuild their life, and I'm all for that. I want the best for everyone. I really do. I do want people to rebuild their life if they're innocent. But you're not going to be able to rebuild your life until you stop pointing fingers at everyone else and rebuild your life by saying, here's the finger pointing at me, and here is why I am innocent, and here's why I'm not involved. Here's me getting coffee at Wawa. Here's me going to McDonald's, and I got an iced tea at lunchtime. And then I went here, and then I went here. So that allows us to have a timestamp where we can say, okay, it takes Andy B. how many hours to drive back from the auto mechanic store to here to get back to the first house, right? We watch Andy, he's moving here, okay? If you were out working, you can't tell me that this man doesn't have something showing that he was buying McDonald's for lunch every once in a while, or going out and grabbing a sub, or going out to 7-Eleven and getting a hot dog. You know, like, I would start with your bank statements. I really, really would, guys. I would start there. Call them. You can call your bank and they can send you a whole printout. And on that printout, when you do a point of sale purchase and you swipe your credit card, it puts you at a timestamp. So Andy B, you went and got gas that day. Call your bank. Show us the bank statement. Show us the time that time stamped. Now, this is just my own personal opinion. I'm not trying to sensationalize anything here. I'm just saying I'm really sick of the pointing fingers back and forth at each other because we're getting nowhere. And as far as the astrology is concerned, y'all really need to start looking at the people that you know, your friends in your group, and someone that you would least suspect, and someone that's completely unknown, that doesn't know anybody. I have 2 suspects that are completely unknown to you. Completely unknown. Nobody knows them. Nobody knows them. They're unknown to you. But they're in shitty positions on the map and on the astrology. And on the charts, they're in shitty positions. So you think about 2 people that you may know that you would least suspect doing something. And it's not our normal suspects, okay? So the neighbors really need to just stop pointing fingers at they did this, they were on the road. Oh, I wasn't on the road. No, you were on the road because I saw you. Okay, let's just point a finger at ourselves and clear yourself first before you start pointing fingers everywhere else. Clear yourselves, get a paper trail, show us that, retake a lie detector test if you need to, and call Nancy Grace. She'd eat it up. She would love to help all of you. I guarantee you Nancy Grace would easily pay for Dobbs to go in and take a test, Redmond to go in and take a test, Fred to retake a test, Andy B to take a test, Jody Sue Brown to take a test, Jody Sue Brown's son. I'm sure she would pay for Jody Brown's son to take a test too. Clear your names, and then just once that comes back with the results, then put the mud down, put the rocks down, stop pointing fingers at everyone else, and think about the people in your life that had access to your property that may have set their eyes on Summer. Because I seriously think she might have been taken. And I can't excuse Don and Candace. They don't, there's a layer of abuse here, there's a layer of neglect, but there's also a layer of a legit kidnapping. So, I mean, I would really start thinking about outside the box. If you have any friends that are criminals, and if you have any friends that have an arrest record of being violent and could be an alcoholic or a heroin addict or a drug addict, those types of friends. And then I have another suspect that is someone that you would least suspect, who's probably like the neighborhood crown jewel, someone who's innocent and seems like the nicest guy in the world, kind of a suspect. They might be the loophole. They might be how these people, how Persephone and Algol got in to get a hold of Summer, and whoever might have been looking to buy property, because that's property. This is property. So there's an undertone of property here because of the Taurus energy on the charts. So it's looking at Summer like she's a piece of property, but this could actually be somebody was going out to look at property too. I could look at it like that. There's a couple, it's multi-layered. There's many layers to this, like an onion. And I personally feel that I have suspects here. I have 4 suspects that look really suspicious. And then I have a neighbor that would probably know at least 2 of them or 3 of them. He would know them. And they could be the missing link to how this happened to Summer. So I really wish that they could just, for a moment, start thinking of the people that you least suspect that have access to your property and may have set eyes on Summer. That's what I would look at. That's what I would really look at. And that instead of pointing fingers, clear yourself first. And then once you get yourself cleared and situated, then work your way out. and then start thinking about your friends that had access to your property and knew where Summer was at. And they could have been walking. I mean, this could be literally someone hiding in the outdoors. Because this one suspect here that's sitting on top of Candace, I have one suspect here that's unknown to you that is sitting on top of Candace, and I can't tell because it's in the sign of Capricorn. They could be out in the, out in the brushes. Saturn can rule like kind of hiding, like kind of being hidden, but out in the bushes somewhere, lurking about. And it's just so weird that the story of Persephone is she's picking flowers and gets kidnapped. Summer planted flowers that day, supposedly. At least that's how the story goes. If Persephone showed up down here or over here, she's showing up in the house that rules the open enemy, connected to Algol, which rules strangulation, head injuries, and assault. I mean, I showed you what Algol meant. Like, he's not good. Algol is not good, guys. He's not good. It's really bad. Algol is heartbreaking for Summer, okay? Heartbreaking. If you know anyone that looks like this, any suspects that look like this, okay? Because I have possibly two here. Because I did a Horary chart. And I asked, what is the police missing? And three of my suspects showed up in the house of what are the police missing. So they showed up in the 10th house. I did a Horary astrology chart over top of my house because I'm asking the universal question. And I said, who have the police missed? And my 3 asteroids showed up in the 10th house, meaning that the police missed 3 people. And it showed up in Gemini. So to me, there's communication. There's travel and communication. The police have missed some people. The police have missed some suspects, in my opinion. So Libra looks like, gives a delicate, nice body, a round, fair, and well-favored face. Hair. Hey! Oh my God! Oh my God, it's Kirsty. Oh my God, I'm going to pass out. Hello, Kirsty. Oh my God, I love you so much. You guys, if you please subscribe to Kirsty. You probably are all already subscribed to her anyway. But I love you so much. You are the whole reason why I love astrology. You are the whole reason why. Actually, I started watching Kirsty because I went and had all of our charts done by an astrologer. And my son showed up with Mars in the 8th house, and my son showed up kind of with like, Mars in the 8th house, and then he had I can't remember, he had something in the 2nd house, or no, something in the 3rd house and something in the 8th house. And this is before I knew a little bit about astrology, but I was like, what the hell is she telling me that my son is going to have like this horrible car accident? Because like, she really upset me. I remember like driving home and being like in tears because she had me so upset about my son. And that night is like the first time I ever saw Kirsty. And I was like, okay. It can mean that he's passionate and that he's competitive, like it doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to have this horrible car accident. It could mean that my son is going to have a competitive nature and that he's athletic, and he is. He was very, like, he played football in high school and all that. So like, you gave me hope. Like, you got me out of this, like, this whole other realm of looking at astrology like this. And I'm so grateful to you, Kirsty. I love you so much. So, and I'm reading her book. I'm reading her book right now. Okay, so Libra gives a delicate, nice body, a round, fair, and well-favored face. Hair is flaxen or light brown, but sometimes black. A cheerful, well-spoken person. Red lips, cherry cheeks, a tall, slender body. Courteous, impartial, just and upright in all their dealings. So like I said, this could be like a suspect that nobody suspects. It could be the nicest guy, right? Someone that looks friendly, that you wouldn't suspect, okay? Cherry teeth, a tall, slender body, courteous, impartial, just an upright in all of their dealings. A lawyer or in a legal position. The person next door who people never assume will commit such crimes. Good looking and outwardly kind, pleasant facial features, and an oval face gives off the impression of straightforwardness, placid, classy, sympathy, and charm. So that's what I mean by like this one asteroid that's showing up in Libra. Like, you know, this could be an all around just great guy that nobody would suspect, right? And then let's see, we have Taurus. Because our open enemy could take on features like Aries, and our open enemy could take on features like Taurus, and they could take on features of Leo, and they could take on features of, see, when they're in Aries, and when they're in Taurus, they could take on features of Cancer. Okay, so I could take a couple of facial features. So if we're looking at a person that looks like Taurus, oh no, you didn't scare me. You saved me. It was the other astrologer that had me scared. Like she did our charts for my whole family, and you saved me, because I was like ready to give up on astrology at that point, because when I left her house, I was convinced that my son was going to have like this horrible car accident. And sometimes I still do think that, you know, because he has Mars in the 8th house, it could be a way that, you know, he could pass, right? Because Mars in the 8th house, it rules, you know, it can be an inclination of how we might pass, right? So I remember I got home that night and I saw your video, and I started to like binge watch your videos to learn about Mars, because I didn't quite understand what Mars meant, right? This is when this is like probably like 4 or 5 years ago, I think. This is a while ago. So like I caught one of your videos that night, and I just started really watching you, and then I got your book last year, I think. I think I bought your book last year. Because of you, I learned the good, the bad, and the ugly about Mars, right? Like I learned about how each planet has a different face, right? How, you know, Mars is a passionate planet. He's when the rose, like when that rosebud is blooming and that rose, you know, opens up. That's Mars, right? The passion that ignites us, how we're born into this world, and the face that we present to the world. And you know, yes, it can mean cuts, scrapes, bruises, and things like that. Like how your book explains Mars here. Like your book tells us that Mars, you know, that Mars can be lots of cuts and bruises and scrapes all over the body. But Mars can also mean that, you know, that there's a very passionate person, that they have a nice face. And like for my son, you know, that he was having Mars in the 8th house, that he was competitive. So I was in this like doom and gloom when I left that other, not you, another astrologer. When I left her house, I was like crying because she made me think that my son was going to have this like tragic car accident that week or something, because I didn't really understand astrology at that point. But when I got home and started watching you and started to really get involved in astrology, and then I bought this book to learn about Mars because of what that lady told me about my son. Now, you never scare me. I love you to pieces. If it wasn't for you, I would have never have known about what these planets mean, and how there's like this dark side to them, but then there's this beautiful side to them, that there's this like evil side to them, and then there's this angelic side to them, right? That and then they have like a neutral face. So they have like this evil face. When we're doing crime, we kind of look at the dark side of these planets, but then when we're reading people's natal charts, we're looking at kind of like the, you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly, the beauty, the beautiful things that these planets can bring forward. So I wouldn't have known that if it wasn't for watching you. So that's kind of how I learned about astrology, is from watching you. So that's why I call you, you're the queen of astrology to me. if it wasn't for you, I probably would have never looked at astrology again, because I had such a horrible experience with that lady that I was like, astrology's terrible. It just told me that my son's gonna die. Like, but then then I had to learn, right? Like I picked up a book and started watching you, and then I realized that these planets are amazing. They tell us so much, right? So it is pretty amazing. What do you think, Kirsty, about this? Now, I didn't pull it. I have charts where I have all of the asteroids names, but I didn't want to do that to any of the neighbors or any of the suspects. I just wanted to, tell you everybody kind of where everybody's located. I even have thought about emailing you just to get your own opinion, because there is a neighbor that is showing up in between here. And I really don't want any of the neighbors to be involved. I want in my mind, like, through the years, we've gotten to know these neighbors, and some of them are really trying to rebuild their life. And I would really like to know how to, not really to clear them, but just to understand why are they showing up like that, and then I have one that shows up here. That's one neighbor that says that she heard, well, because it will reveal who they are, but that they made a statement to the police that they might have witnessed something, right? That they might have heard something. So, and they show up kind of here. And I know witnesses can kind of show up here. So, there's things that make sense with the asteroids of the neighbors. And I've gotten lucky. Like I have an asteroid for each neighbor. I did Dobbs, I did Redmond's, I did Fred, I did Andy B, I did Jody Sue Brown. I have pulled everybody's asteroids. Everyone that's listed in Summer Wells's case, I have pulled an asteroid for. Yes, and then I have two suspects that nobody knows about. That Missy has honed in on one suspect that's here, who's at the same degree as the moon. Missy's suspect, who's unknown to everyone, completely unknown. Missy's suspect sits right here, on top of the moon, which the moon rules. It's a second co-ruler for our victim. It can be a second place where a body could be, and it could also be Summer and Candace together, right? I mean, because it rules, because Summer is 5 and under, so I have to look at the moon like this, that it could be Summer and Candace together. So it represents more than one thing, the moon. None of the suspects are in Algol. I did have some in transits, but I'm still learning transits. So I'm still trying to figure out transits, but I do have one of the last names show up over here in transits, but only when Algol is in the 8th house, I have a neighbor here that is just about beginning to go into the 6th house. So when Algol is in the 8th house, I do have a neighbor appear here. They go into the house of service. So when Algol is in the 7th, that neighbor goes into the 6th. And then I have pulled the parents' asteroids as well, and they're showing up in here. I'm just going to say it. All suspects are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, but Don shows up dancing in between the 6th house and the 5th house. And Don is really close. The asteroid Don shows up conjunct Chiron, I believe. I'm not sure if it's a complete 10 degrees apart, because I know they have to be 10 degrees apart, but he's very close. He's very close, and he's in the 6th house. Don is in the 6th house, and then he goes into the 5th house, and he's riding Chiron that day. I tried to get the water guys that go all over for finding the missing cars to use astrology. They didn't seem very interested. I know. You should tell them to watch Kirsty, Trisha. She's amazing. That's who I'm learning, like, that's the videos that I watched and how I learned to do the maps. So I didn't save my map and it deleted. So I have to redo Sebastian's map and I have to redo Summer's map. But finally, you need him to be 2-degree orbits are really close. Okay, so if they're not, okay, so if they're 2 degrees apart, then I don't consider them as suspects. So 10 degrees apart is considered a conjunction or less. So this person was the neighbor that's here is 8 degrees apart from the open enemy, and 8 degrees at one point he's about 8 degrees apart from Summer. So then that wouldn't be considered a suspect then, right? Or someone that hurt Summer. Is orbits and degrees the same? No, they're not. They're 8 degrees apart. I'll show you. Hold on. Give me 1 second because I'm going to scribble out their name because I really don't want to hurt anybody. Like I really don't want to do this to hurt anybody. Like I really don't. More so, I want to do this to clear everybody because I'm just so sick of these neighbors attacking each other. Like, I really am. I really just want everyone to kind of focus on something else. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to scribble it out right now because I'll show you where I got it, where they sit. But just let me scribble this out. Hold on. But I'm not going to scribble out the degree so you can see it. One second. Yeah, nobody's on top of Algol when Algol's in the 8th house. So I'm scribbling it in red, and then I'm going to scribble it in black color too. Because I really don't want to hurt anyone. I really don't want to be that. I know I've made mistakes in the past, but I'm really trying to be gentle. Okay, I think I scribbled it out enough. So this is a neighbor right here. And this is the other unknown suspect. Oh, that's okay. That's okay, Aggie. I understand. 10 degrees can cover too much area. I use 1 and 2 degrees orbs, not saying larger ones don't work, but just in my case, the closer the better. Gotcha. So, see, this is 24 and 16. So this is at, whoops. This is at 3 o'clock. This is the chart for 3 o'clock. So here's Summer is Venus, and then the open enemy to Summer is 2. So what do you think about that? Thank you, Aggie, for helping. And then I don't like how these 2 suspects here are in the 1st house. And these are not neighbors, but they live in the area. these people here, they're in the first house. Oops. Crap, I forgot to delete that guy. Okay. All right. They are, aren't they? Very interesting spots. It's awkward. Ugh, I just wish it was, ugh. And the neighbor that says that she hears something is in the 7th house, but see, Algol is up there. And then she goes down into here. So I know sometimes people who have made statements to law enforcement show up in the 7th house sometimes. As like a witness. Can I explain this? Yes. There's 2 suspects in Libra. Hold on, I scribbled it out. Okay, so one suspect is at 13 degrees, so that's an Aries degree. And then the other suspect, who is listed as they're not listed as an actual suspect, and they're not listed as a neighbor, okay? But they know the neighbors. These are 2 people that know the neighbors. And they speak very highly of this person. And then the other suspect, I don't know too much about him. But so one suspect is at 20 degrees and the other suspect is at 13 degrees. I don't even think they're listed as suspects. They're just names that have been brought up. So a witness can show up in the first house, and a witness can show up can a witness show up in the 7th house, or does that mean that they're automatically an open enemy? Because I have seen, I did that chart for the girl that went missing from the truck stop. Oh, I forget her name now. Kieslyn, I think her name is, or Kieslyn. She went missing at a truck stop, and she had a fight with somebody, a female, and then that female shows up as an open enemy in the 7th house, but she was cleared. So I'm thinking sometimes witnesses can show up in the 7th house as well. Is that correct? The name at 20. Yeah, that's an older man. He's older than 20, so he's older than 29. I'm just going to say that. So he'd be, he's older than 28, older than 29. He's an older man, and he's the friendly one, like the really friendly one. So I can see witnesses there, legal witnesses. Okay, in the 7th, 1st and 7th. Where is the 20? I played darts, but this is on another level. Well, Melons, Kirsty is no joke. The forensic astrologer, she is the real deal. She's the one that finds people all the time. 20 is here. 20 is next to Nemesis. And 13 is next to Summer. Okay? So their asteroids show up right here. So the 13th degree suspect shows up next to Summer, and the 20th degree suspect shows up next to Nemesis. So I pulled Nemesis and Nessus because I know that they represent abuse, and Algol. And then I was just curious about Persephone because I know she rules kidnappings. 20 degrees Libra is like a heightened, lovely next door neighbor. Yes, yes, exactly. The friendly one that nobody would suspect. Yes. And from what, you know, from what, like, okay, if we take all the neighbors that constantly sling mud back and forth to each other, it's the one thing that they have all said in common, that this guy is nice, that they don't think that he would ever do anything. And out of curiosity, I jotted his name down because I've heard Jody Sue Brown mention this person, that he's a nice older man, a friendly gentleman that, you know, has honors and all this other stuff, right? And then I've heard on Ziggy's channel, I've heard Fred say that they would never suspect this person because they're very friendly and they're very nice. They would never hurt a child. So out of curiosity, I just wanted to just see where they fell at. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they're here. And, you know, they're on top of Summer, really riding the AC line too. I mean, like, really riding it, like close to it. So that's kind of why I wanted to just figure it out. So many serial killers have 19 and 20s degrees of Libra. Oh my gosh, really? On the AC, and that's where he's at. Oh my gosh. Allegedly. Not saying that this person did it. I'm just saying they really are in an awkward spot. And it's the one thing that I have heard Andy Bernard say, that he thinks he's a friendly, nice guy. I've heard Jody Sue Brown and all of her late night ramblings that this is a nice person, that they would never do anything. I have heard Fred Hill say that this person is a nice person, that they would never do anything. And I can't remember. I've heard other people mention him as well. So I was just curious, like, I wonder if this, at least they all seem to agree. Even Don Wells has, and Candace have all said, oh, this person is so friendly and nice, they would never do anything to a child. It's the one person that they all have said positive things about. So I was curious. I wonder where the hell he shows up, because everybody seems so convinced that he's the nicest guy ever. And maybe he's not. Maybe he's a missing link here. And I almost pooed my pants when I pulled him up, and he's sitting so close to the line between, 3 and 445 that, and then when I pulled Summer, this asteroid for Summer is called Summer's Field. And look where that showed up. And he shows up like really riding Summer, like on top of Summer's asteroid. No, not him, but being a serial killer. But I see it all over and over. Right. Please explain that the chart below, the round one. Please explain. Okay. Finding the, always say positive things. Yes. Yes. And it's the one person. That's why I wanted to pull this He's not listed as a suspect. He's not. And he's just a name that I have heard repeated over and over and over again, that he's the nicest guy. And all the other suspects have all said this about him being a really nice man, like a really nice older man, friendly guy next door, kind of like a hero, that everyone would never suspect him. And I was kind of like, maybe we should just see where his I'm just going to plug in his name, see if it comes up. And it did. It comes up as his name. And see where he falls. So that's why I was really suspicious about it. And that's, and I really, once I saw where all these, this suspect that's riding the moon makes me nervous. And when I did the map, when I mapped it out, when I did the lines for this suspect here, the line goes through his front door and out his back door. It goes through his front yard, right into his front door, and you see the line shoot out his back door of his property. So the map, when I did the scribble maps for this suspect here, his house maps out on the maps, which makes me very nervous. And he's unknown to everyone. Nobody knows who this is. And I was working with Missy on this guy. And then these two people look suspicious. So that's why I really just wish that the neighbors could just stop throwing mud at each other and really think about the people that they know. I do think that when Algol comes into the 7th house is when things are really bad for summer. So 445 to what, 5:30, and then Pluto is in the house of travel. You know, is she in a car here? I feel like she could be moving. The moon is at 26 degrees. Let's see where the moon is at 5. p.m. The moon goes so 25 and 26. Should I look to when the moon turns into 29? When the moon turns into 29 is when I get my time. Let's see. Move the time to get to the moon to 29. Okay. All right. So, you know what you just made me think of, Kirsty? Sebastian's chart, his moon was at 29. Like, oh, his moon was at the 29th degree at the end of that huge apex of that yod on his chart is at 20. The moon is at 29 degrees. So let me try 6 o'clock. Let me see if I can get the moon to 29 degrees. Oh my God, I am so blessed that you are here. I love you so much. You have no idea how honored I am that you're here. I can't thank you enough. Okay, Algol's still in the 7th house at 6 p.m. and the moon is at 27. So let me try to move it. Maybe I should try 6:30. But Algol's still riding the open enemy. So Algol's still sitting there. Like the evil star that he is. He's still in the 7th house. The moon's still at 27. So maybe I should take it to 7 p.m. She's at 28 here. So that's at 7:30. So 8 p.m. And I think around 8 p.m. is when we go into, the AC line goes into Sagittarius. Wait. Yeah, let's see what happens. So 8:30 p.m. I'm at 28 degrees. I'm so close. And Algol has left. Venus and the sun are in the 7th. Algol is now in the 5th, which rules children, and you know what the 5th house means, right, guys? I mean, I'll show you again. Children, creativity, pleasure, romance, good fortune, and sex, okay? So that's not good that Algol is in that house, okay? And Persephone is there too, and Uranus. All right, so let's take it to 8:45. She's still at 28 degrees, but she's close. It's bringing that sun down to the DC too. Yes. The sun is sitting directly on top of the DC line right there. So that's an older male. Look how the sun is just sitting on that. 9:30 p.m. Okay. Should I go to 9:30, you think? Or 9? Just shoot for 9:30. $29 in the 8th house of death, Kirsty. Oh my gosh. So sad. So Algol is still in the 5th house with the North Node. He's still in of course, he's still in Taurus. Persephone goes into the womb and into the end. Persephone goes into the end of the matter. Uranus is at the end of the matter. And then Algol is still in the house that, you know, is not good for children. And then I have the moon in the house of death at the 29th degree. So that's probably when things got really bad for summer. Summer is here in the 29th degree too. Bring that moon into the 8th is very telling. Yes. Because it's in the house of death and transformation. I'm sorry, Melons. I'm sorry, Melons. Second house is DNA, Nessus, and Saturn. Pluto is in the 1st. And then that's not good either, because this is not good either that Capricorn is in the 1st house now, because usually when Capricorn is in the 1st house, that's not good for our victim either. Correct? Yeah. I think this is when summer, allegedly, okay, of course this is alleged, this is just astrology, but on an astrological level, this would be the time for summer. Very sad. So when Algol enters the 7th house, and then Pluto enters the house of travel between like 4:45 and 5:30, do you think she was put in a car? When we're at 4:45, is that when Algol sets his eyes on her? When he enters the 7th house? Yeah, exactly. It's not a coincidence. I really don't think that it is. I don't think it's a coincidence when we have this many asteroids flying about, and then Summers just happens to show up where, you know, right where it did. Very likely what was the 3rd house cusp. It was when the yod, see, because the yod starts to go away here. There's just like a little yod, there's like a little yod here now. Still pointing to Pluto. But at 4:45, I feel like she's moved somehow. I just don't know how. At 4:45, Algol, it's when Algol first arrives on the scene, and I really feel like that's when Summer's Pluto crosses over this threshold. Like, how someone explained it to me once is like, if you could think of, how I think of it is like, these are little doorways. So Pluto just crossed that doorway and is now into the house of, you know, travel. He's in the house of, you know, he's in this house. Siblings, school, short trips, you know, short distant journeys, neighborhoods, and, you know, travel and communication. So, like, to me, Pluto and summer is opposed Pluto here. There's this red line that opposes summer to Pluto. So, and because it goes, you know, it's hugging Capricorn like that, I just feel like this is might be when she's put in a car, maybe even sooner, maybe 4:30. See if I can get it back to where Pluto just crosses that threshold. I know I'm like super slow at this because I'm just still learning all this. So I know I don't move as fast as you guys. And I have the IC at 29, so that's 2.9 miles or 2.5 miles. But look, see, this is when Pluto just enters the door of travel. And Pluto is connected to the yod of the moon and the sun. And then I have the finger of fate, the finger of God coming in. And Pluto just crossed over into travel. So, like, to me, and with Persephone there, was she taken? Like, and this is like sealing her fate here because, you know, you see Mars opposed. Mars represents, you know, anger, rage, murder, okay? And it's opposed death and rebirth and transformation. And it just crosses that IC line into the house of travel. And I can't help but think that something goes drastically wrong here. Yeah. So Pluto just left. Pluto just left in the womb and in the tomb, and then crosses that doorway into travel. So and then Persephone just comes in. Algol's in the 8th house of death, and Persephone comes in, you know, and I'm thinking, like, is that when she's taken away from the property? Is that when she's moved? Yeah, and Mars is the DC ruler. So, yeah. And here, her and Candace are really not conjunct, but they're at least in the same house here at 4 o'clock. So I feel like, I don't know, it's a tough chart. It's a really tough chart. But all charts are tough to me because I'm learning. But I have so much to learn. Hey, Birdie, it's good to see you. It is interesting. It's actually very sad, but it's very interesting. And, you know, the planets are telling us what happened here. The planets are definitely telling us a story. I just need to learn how to listen to them. And that's what I'm trying to learn how to do. It's like Candace walked away from, yeah. See here, how they're separating? 2 and 26 degrees apart, so they're not conjunct. I wonder if that's a semi-sextile almost. You know, it's not a conjunction. It's not quite a semi-sextile either. And the lines aren't even like, at no point of the day do I have any lines with these two connected at all, really. Like, I don't think she was watching her, for sure, at this point. I don't think she's paying attention to her here at all. Do you have to have a date and time the person went missing, and birthday. Birthday is helpful, but what's most important, Birdie, is that we have the city and state that the person goes missing in, and that we have the time of the crime. And if you have a suspect, the suspect's names, our name, and the suspect's address would be helpful, because then when we map them out, if their address happens to like match up to the lines, that's helpful as well. And then if you have the victim's date of birth, that would be great, or the suspect's date of birth, that would be great too. So let me go back and read. Finding Mars and Leo. Yes. So that is authority. Mars and Leo. Hi, Shady Shallows. What the hell? This sounds foreign. Yes, I've always thought that too. Like the sun is beating down on her here. The heat of the sun. So I'm just now learning about light and combustion and astrology. Like I'm just now starting to understand when the sun is combust on our natal charts and things like that, are like how to follow the light from the sun and the moon, because they're both giver of lights and they shine a light on something. And Leo is the sun, and to me, she's burning up here. She's hot. Mars in Leo is extremely hot. That is a high degree, a high temperature. Or I even thought this, Kirsty, maybe she's sick. Infection is Mars. Leo heat, like a fever. Like either she's hot in a car or she has a burning up fever. I've thought of that as well. I kind of went down that theory as well. That, either she's burning up on fire, or Mars is the vehicle. Yes, Mars is a vehicle. So she's hot here. She's hot in a vehicle. Oh my God, I just saw that. I get it now. Yes, she's hot in a vehicle. Just wish we knew whose vehicle. Whose vehicle is she burning up in? And this is at 4 o'clock, because that's right when Pluto crosses into this, crosses the door into the third house, which Gemini rules vehicles too. Gemini rules travel. And Capricorn is ruling the third house, so that's on her physical body. Capricorn rules her skeleton. Pluto is not good to be in Capricorn. And then opposed, Pluto is Mars. Leo is the heat. Mars is the car. Hey, Brooke. So good to see you. Hot in a car has been my main theory. Has it really? See, when I first looked at it, but I don't know as much as you. See, I thought infection and high fever in a car. But now that you said Mars is a car, Leo is hot, the moon is there, not watching her. I don't think that the moon is watching her. Because at no point of the day have I seen the moon connect to summer. There's no connection there. And this sun is not watching her either. He looks like he's distracted with the boys and siblings, because Gemini rules siblings and Mercury rules siblings. Sun rules an older male that's been in front of these boys like the whole time. So they're not watching her either. Nobody is watching Summer. Nobody is watching her. Nobody has an eye on her. She's over here alone. She's hot. She's Mars. Mars is heat. That's full face of the sun. Opposed Pluto. Yeah. Can you pop up the later 29th degree chart again and see where they fall? Okay. At 9:30, right? When the moon is at 29 degrees? You mean? Yeah, no one was watching her. Nobody. So 9:30 p.m. the moon just enters the 29th degree. I'm so happy that you're here, Kirsty. I can't tell you how honored I am that you're here. It means so much to me. You can tell I read your book a lot, right? Look at your book. Look, I lost the cover. I use it so much. Look at that. All my notes all over your book. You know I use it, and I've used up all of your charts in the back. I've gone through all of the charts in the back of your book. Kirsty has a book that gives us charts that we can just keep records of all of our charts. See all my notes? You can tell I've used your book, right? I mean, I'm really trying to learn from you. I'm really trying to learn from you. I love you too, Brooke. Okay, so I know I've worn my book out. So at 9:30, our moon is at a 29th degree, and the moon is opposed DNA. Oh my gosh. The moon is opposed Jupiter and DNA. Jupiter is at the 2nd degree, so that is Taurus energy. DNA is at a 0 degrees here. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I still make a lot of mistakes though, guys. So like I know that I have a lot to learn, and I know I don't know all the lingo, and I don't know all the lingo. And I have a gut feeling sometimes, Kirsty, when I do these charts. Sometimes I can see stuff when I'm doing these charts, and it really freaks me out. So hold on, let me let my dog out. Here, go outside, Daisy. Go. Here we go. Okay. So, hi, Karen. No, we're doing Summer Wells right now, sweetie. She was deceased around 4:40, but taken elsewhere later. I see. So 4:40, right when Pluto goes into the car, she's gone. She's probably already deceased. And then here is when she's disposed of, 9:30. Yeah, I really get a gut feeling. Sometimes I see stuff too. It's really crazy. So for this chart, Capricorn is ruling my AC line. So she is usually already deceased. If Capricorn is ruling my AC line and the first house, and I have Pluto in the first house as well, she's gone, unfortunately, allegedly, okay? Her asteroid's at the 29th degree up here in Capricorn, in the house that rules Capricorn. And Scorpio is there. Do you see that? Her asteroid, and then Scorpio is up there with Summer, and then Capricorn is on the first house. So she's already gone. And Persephone is in the womb and in the tomb. Algol is in the 5th house for children. And with Saturn in the 2nd, taken away. Yes, Saturn's right here in the 2nd house. And her DNA, right there. Saturn is at 13 degrees here. So that is, that's an Aries degree, right? So it's unfortunate. That's telling us that she was the bloody planet. The 13th degree is the bloody planet. That rules the physical body. She's at an Aries degree here in the second. Yes, and the moon is at the 25th degree, which is classic for drinking. And I bought this book too, Kirsty. I just bought this book by Rex E. Bills because I saw one of your videos about it. And I bought it. I just got it. It's brand new, so it doesn't have all my notes on it yet. And the moon represents the mother energy. Yes, it can, absolutely. Algol is in the 5th, which rules, yeah, the whole children thing. And having partying and drinking, right? I mean, it rules, that's the house of where you're hooking up and you're having sex and you're hooking up and you're drinking. Yep. Alleged. Yep. That's right, Logan. Algol means alcohol, and he's in the house of partying. So they're drunk. And she's gone. Algol can mean alcohol and drinking and allowing like a demon to take over you. And then Persephone is in the 4th house. Uranus is in the 4th house. Capricorn's ruling the 1st. Pluto is in the 1st. Saturn is in the 2nd, being taken away, but she's deceased, being taken away. DNA is in the 2nd. Yeah, because when Algol had assaulted Medusa, he was drunk, right? So when he sexually assaulted Medusa, Algol, or Neptune, was drunk. And that's why Algol is the eye of Medusa, and he's the demon that winks at us. Yep. Yes, this book is amazing. I can't even thank you enough. All these things that these planets mean, I had no idea. See, I always think that Leo it means acne, but Mars can mean acne on the face too. So I didn't know that. So this book is going to help me when we do suspects and try to kind of figure out what the suspect looks like. Yes. Yes. And sometimes if we see Algol in the 1st house, it can mean that our victim was drunk. I think with Rodney, Algol showed up on her side. So that meant she was under the influence. So, yeah, I learned that about Algol, is that when Neptune was intoxicated when he did that. Yeah, Kylie, or Kelly. I always call her Kelly Rodney. Kylie, right? I'm not sure how to pronounce her name. But you guys know who I mean. No, I think for Rodney, she had Algol in the 1st house. So that's why I knew she was really drunk. Like, she was really drunk. And, that, it's sad. But then I remember looking at a fixed star. It said something about the mouth of the river or something. I pulled up a fixed star, and there was something about Gemini looking at a tower, a cell phone tower or a fire tower. And it's crazy because that's where we saw her car go under, is from a cell phone tower. And the fixed star mentions to look at a cell phone tower. Like, I couldn't believe that. 26 AC, I believe. Yes. For Rodney, yes, she did. It was like right on there. Yep. Yeah, it was very sad. Very sad. So this is probably the chart that I should really pick apart with all of the suspects as well. So I'll be working on that as too. It was crazy. It was very sad, shocking. Thank you so much for coming in and helping me, because I have been really torn up about where the neighbors were showing up on her chart. And, you know, one of the neighbors is Ziggy's husband, you know, and like, I don't want to hurt anybody. And I'm like, he's not in the best location, but he's close by. Like, I really think that something happened under his nose because he's really close to them. And I'm so glad you clarified that for me, because he was only 8 degrees apart. So I feel much better. I'm much more relieved, because I had a lot of anxiety about that. And I just really wish that the law enforcement would clear these neighbors so they could start their life and have a life, because all of them are connected to Summer forever. And it's like they can't rebuild their life. That's kind of my main concern with that. Check aspects with house cusp too. Okay. Okay. Some lady lied about a kid going to her house, an old lady. That's crazy. Okay. All right, guys, we've been on a long time. I'm going to head out. I think we've been on almost 3 hours. Thank you so much, Kirsty. I really appreciate you coming in and helping me with that, because I've been so torn up about it. And I feel much better about it. So I'm really going to look at those 2 suspects that are floating over top of Summer, and then the other unknown 2 suspects on the other side. One was 2 degrees apart. So I will look at them. Thank you, Kirsty. I'm trying. I still have a lot to learn. All right. Blessings to you all. Take care, everyone. Good night, everyone. Bye-bye.